Welcome to Unscripted with Daniel. I'm Daniel, your host, and we have Kyle Reynolds here, and he's gonna be running, he actually is running, for Porter County Council District 3. And I'm gonna go ahead and throw it over to him so he can do a quick introduction of himself, and then we'll jump into the interview.
Sure, well, thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
A lifelong resident of Valparaiso, moved away for a short time to attend college at IU. Spent a small stint in D.C. Before moving back, working for the governor, eventually leaving that team to pursue some business opportunities here back in my hometown, and then opportunity came up to run for Council District 3. Think we're doing a great job here as a county, but think there's just some common sense local policy that we're missing that I would like to pursue.
Okay. Now, since you've mentioned there's some common sense things that you'd like to change, what are those things that you'd like to change when you get in, if you do get elected?
Sure. I think one thing is making sure that our public safety officials and officers have the resources they need to keep us safe. Obviously, we're a growing county. But our sheriff's departments, some of our fire districts have not grown with the county. They are significantly smaller than those of similar sized counties like Monroe, like Tippecanoe, all have much larger sheriff's departments, more deputies, more funding. So that's something I would like to bring to our county, making sure that we're investing in public safety to keep Porter County safe. We've been very lucky to have a shrinking crime rate over the last couple of years here in the county. But obviously we're surrounded by a lot of high crime areas. Every year we grow as a county. So making sure that we're properly investing to keep residents of the county safe.
Yeah, that is good. Now, is there any evidence that there is a need for it, or is there a rising crime rate that would suggest that it would be good to expand those departments?
We are seeing rising crime in certain areas in Northwest Indiana, Michigan City in particular, which is right on the border with Porter County. I think by the time that there's evidence, that means it's too late. So if you see a rising crime rate, that means you haven't done your job in keeping residents safe, in making sure that our law enforcement has what they need.
Okay.
So
makes
sense. I'd rather be proactive about it than wait for something to happen.
Absolutely, that makes sense. Is there anything else in particular that you'd change, just since we're on that topic of what you'd do if you were elected?
Sure. I think the other major part of my platform would be pursuing economic development in a lot of the underdeveloped, unincorporated areas of the county. So we've seen Mayor Costas, with his multiple administrations, pursue very strategic economic development in the city. Those partnerships with private companies to bring in investment into the area and really grow Valparaiso as a city. We haven't seen that in many of these unincorporated areas, in Wheeler, in North County, South County especially, where there is a lot of opportunity. There is a lot of underdeveloped areas that I think we can do a lot to attract investment, to develop those areas and bring more opportunities to workers and residents of Porter County.
Makes sense, yeah. I think that would bring in a lot more revenue if we had developed those things or taken that opportunity to do so. So you say you went to college. So where did you study, and what was the major?
Sure. I studied down at Indiana University. It was my undergrad. Majored in business, focused in marketing. And then right now I'm actually finishing up. I'm a master's candidate for philosophy and theology.
Oh, cool.
Over at St. John's College, which is not a very well-known, but a very interesting institution over in Annapolis.
Cool. Is there any particular religion that you're studying at? Or is it just unspecific philosophy? And
I'd say it's certainly the focus is in the Abrahamic traditions.
Oh, okay.
So Christianity, Islam, and Judaism.
I see. Very cool. So you mentioned that you worked for the government for a period of time?
For the governor, I worked on his
Governor,
campaign.
okay.
Yes.
For his campaign,
Yes.
okay. So that means you're a fan of him, Mike Braun? Or no? Okay, so, all right, let's get into it.
Yeah, I think there are things I would have liked to see this administration do. That doesn't mean that I don't support our governor and want him to succeed, but it's certainly been a rocky start to the administration.
Interesting. What would you say is rocky about his administration, or at least in the start?
Sure. I think SB 1 obviously has some problems.
Yeah.
Issues with, certainly I'm running for local government, and this is putting our local governments in a very difficult position without delivering, in some cases, any tax relief to Hoosiers. So it's in the great tradition of tax reform. It's a very complicated bill, and we have one of the most complicated property tax systems in the country here in Indiana. But what SB 1 was meant to do was to give property tax relief to Hoosiers, which I am in support of. I think we have egregiously high property taxes in some areas of the state. So what it did was limit property tax increases that localities could levy, like townships and counties. It increased the homestead exemption, and it particularly helped to lower the property tax rates for elderly residents. And then the issue for that was then that would create a significant revenue shortfall. So they tried to fix that by working in a new lit tax, into it that localities like cities and municipalities could impose. Some cities have taken advantage of that. So Hoosiers in some parts of the states are actually seeing their taxes go up as a result of SB 1 and that lit tax increase. But then here in Porter County, because we have a very low lit tax, we don't want to raise that. Fortunately, it's causing a serious revenue shortfall for the county. The council was able to fill that over the last fiscal year by using money from the county charitable fund and dipping into that principal, which is if once you start dipping into the principal, then you start to have some problems.
I see. So you said that was a charity fund that people are dipping into in order to make up for the property tax.
Yeah, we have some interesting ways that we allocate and pool our money here in Porter County. One of those is the Porter County Charitable Fund that the members of the council are board members of. Mm-hmm. So they choose how that is allocated.
So when you say it's a charity, is it something that I can donate to? And
No, it's...
What does it mean, charitable?
It kind of means whatever the council wants it to mean. Obviously, if it's something that we need to cover the shortfall, well, then that's what it becomes.
It's a buffer fund for when things go wrong, maybe. Is that? It's whatever they want,
yeah,
I guess, as you said.
That's how it's been used. Yeah, that's what it was used for last year. But,
okay.
Other times it's used for funding certain grants, certain initiatives by the county.
I see. Okay. Then when they have that, or when they don't have that, then the tax has to go up.
Either the tax has to go up or we have to make cuts.
Right. Programs, etc. Right.
Yeah, programs, administrative staff, that kind of thing.
Okay. So there's a lot of things you said about SB1, and I just want to re-explain it in my own words so that I understand it, hopefully, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. So it's meant to help Hoosiers with their taxes, make it cheaper.
Yeah, property taxes.
But there were problems because it lowered taxes for older residents?
Lower residents, residents that are taking a homestead exemption.
That have a homestead exemption.
Yes. It also then imposed very strict limitations on rates and rate hikes by counties. So the way that it did account for that and is that it allows towns and municipalities to raise their lit tax, which is local income tax. So, and some cities have taken full advantage of that. And now you're actually seeing residents, instead of paying lower tax rates overall, they're actually paying higher tax rates because these cities have now maxed out that increased lit.
Oh, I see. Right. Okay. So once they max that out, and what is the maximum that they can charge on a lit tax?
That does vary. And I think the legislature is actually going to take that back up again.
Try to increase
in the next session. Try to fix SB1 as much as they can.
Okay, well, hopefully.
So we'll see what the result of that ends up.
I see. Sounds like it's a work in progress, and they know that they've majorly screwed up.
Yeah. It was something that was a major part of the governor's agenda on the campaign, and then had the best of intentions behind it, but then was maybe without the due diligence pushed through the legislature.
Yeah, it's hard to see how things will play out ahead of time, but that's their job. So it's right to be mad at the legislators who did pass that bill, so that we can tell them to change it. Okay, so apart from SB1, anything, since we're on Mike Braun?
Yeah, I think something that was obviously in the news for a while, and I think that the administration ultimately abandoned, was increasing the tolling throughout the state, increasing rates and increasing the amount of roads that would be tollways, considering that us in Northwest Indiana already have some of the most expensive tollways in the country.
Yeah.
That was obviously deeply unpopular, and I think improperly shifted the burden even farther to Northwest Indiana to help pay for the roads across the state.
Yeah, that doesn't sound fair. So if you were on this council, District 3, is there anything that you could do to sort of help with these policies, or to
I think
what can you do about these sort of things?
Nothing directly.
As
a member of the council, but our council and our commissioners do a very good job at working with our delegation. For Valparaiso, that's Senator Charbonneau and Representative Soliday that go down to the State House, advocate for Hoosiers up here. So working with that delegation, working with the governor's office, making sure that our constituents up here are being represented and have a fair voice down in Indianapolis.
Makes sense. Okay, so let's see here. Do you feel that you are how old are you, by the way?
25.
You're 25. You're young. Maybe I don't know if you're the youngest person to ever try to.
There have been some younger.
There have been younger ones? Okay.
Yeah.
So do you feel qualified for it? And how do you feel that you're qualified for the role of Porter County Council?
Yeah. Well, I think if I'm qualified, it's going to be up to the voters.
Makes sense. Yeah.
May and November, but I think I've worked with I've spent time working with our governor's team. Certainly working with local elected officials and legislators. Spent time in D.C. in policy roles and fellowship roles, studying policy and political theory, and I think have a good vision for what our local policy should look like here, what our strengths are, what the issues are with current policy.
Okay. Now, you're a Republican. Is your Republican affiliation something that, will lead into your policy that you do? Will it be overly partisan in your implementation?
Well, I hope not. I think that the job of a local policymaker is just to pursue that prudent, common sense policy, make sure our roads are paved, make sure our police and fire have what they need. It's not to legislate in this partisan manner. Certainly, at the city level here, we've seen both sides dig in on a lot of cultural issues.
Yeah.
And so that's something that I think is bad for our local political discourse, and certainly our policy.
Yeah, I think it's a distraction from what's important, which is a lot of times just competence. Can you execute the office, and
can you get the job done?
Get the job done.
To put the work in
right
for your constituents?
Yeah. So let's see here. Tell me about the DC Fellowship. I'm just curious about it.
Sure. I've done a couple of things in DC. I think the one impacted me the most was a fellowship with the Hudson Institute, which is a think tank over in DC. This was a summer fellowship. I've been back a number of times for different policy workshops, policy certifications that they've had. But it's one of the best and one of the most competitive political fellowships in the country. And a phenomenal staff there, always a fantastic cohort. And so I've been back to Hudson a number of times as well, just to keep that relationship and keep learning as much as I can.
That is good. Obviously, if you're getting in politics, you should be interested in learning more. And it sounds like it's one of your main interests. Is that right?
It is, yeah. Probably since, very early in college, started doing work with political organizations on campus, with a workshop we have on there, the Ostrom workshop, which is a political theory workshop that we have down at IU, named for Nobel Prize winning political economist and theorist Eleanor Ostrom.
Okay, cool. Did it start in college, your interest in politics? Where did it start for you?
Probably my first real dive into politics was working for former Mayor Murphy's.
Okay, yeah.
First campaign. That was an intern with him, with some of our city council candidates, and loved the process, found it fascinating, and the fact that just ordinary, everyday people can get involved, make a difference. I think Alexis de Tocqueville called the township the laboratory of democracy. So I think, involvement at the local township, county level is very important for the health and maintenance of our democratic institutions here.
I agree. All politics is local, isn't it?
That's very true.
And but the decisions that people make for your community, it's where you're living. Yeah. So it's some of the most important things.
Yeah. What I tell people, and certainly young people that are hyper interested in national politics, but really don't care what's happening at the local and state level, is that your city councilman, your state legislature has a lot more impact over your everyday life in your community than whatever the Trump administration or Nancy Pelosi is doing in DC. Yeah.
Doesn't matter that you don't like her stock trading or whatever Trump did. Okay, well, that's cool. So you were maybe a teenager when you were with helping Mayor Murphy.
Yeah, I think it was 17, 18 probably.
Pretty early. So now the primary's coming up. I'll let the audience know that I reached out to Don Murphy to try to get Don Miller. Sorry, not Murphy. I got confused because Matt Murphy. Thank you for the correction. To Don Miller, and she wants to do an interview after the primary. So I won't see her in this interview. Is it important who you're running against? Is there any feeling that that you're more qualified, or how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think Dawn has a lot of passion, and I respect her for that. She's run for a number of offices at this point. I think what separates the two of us is just that interest in, like you said, it's just getting the job done, common sense local policy. She seems to be interested a lot more in partisanship, some of this, very like hyperbolic political rhetoric.
Yeah.
And I will give her credit. She's spent some time over the last few months educating herself on the issues, on county finances. The county council's main responsibility is handling the finances of the county. But I still think she has a ways to go in that regard.
Okay. Well, good to know. And when we get her in for an interview, if she wins the primary, then we'll learn more, but maybe she won't. But anyways, those are all my questions. Let me just look over my notes just to be sure. But if I don't have any more, then do you have any final thoughts? What you'd like to say to the audience? I'd like to talk more. So if you have any more you'd like to talk about, other things to do on the council, or
I think we've covered it. What's kind of difficult is talking about what you want to do is that our council has done a pretty good job over the last couple of years. SB1's going to present some challenges, and it already has, but they're working through that. We had a crisis recently of not having any ambulance service for the county. They were able to figure that out in this last year.
That's good.
So they've been doing a good job. I think there are some places, for example, I would rather look into where there are places to make cuts, and I think there are some. There's some doubling and redundancy in certain administrative positions in the county. So I'd rather look at how can we, save taxpayer dollars rather than hit that principle of the charitable fund.
I see. Yeah.
To cover shortages.
Sounds like you've delved already a lot into the actual budget of the Porter County Council. Where do you see these doublings of costs where the taxpayer could possibly, would they be able to see relief from the removal of these doublings?
I think so. Yeah, there are certain redundancies in some of the county agencies and departments. One thing that we don't do a very good job as a county is with transparency, which is another issue I would like to see more with a lot of counties. You can go onto the county website and see an easy breakdown of the county budget. You really can't with us. You have to look through hundreds of pages of uploaded PDFs.
Gosh.
And so it's very difficult, even for some of the members of the council, to know exactly what we're spending and what we're spending it on. But if you look at, you can see exactly how many administrative positions there are in these different agencies. It takes a little while to go through, and the way we categorize things is not necessarily intuitive as a county. But we've seen significant growth in administrative positions over the last couple of years.
And you feel that's a problem?
I think so, considering that is the kind of fastest growing line item when you tally everything up for the county is administration. And it's not really clear what value that added administrative burden is bringing to taxpayers.
So on the note of that administrative bloat, I didn't mean to rhyme, but where is it happening? What departments have been grown?
I think, pretty much all departments, from the election division to parks, highway. Porter County Highway is one that's significant. That's one that may be justified as the county takes over additional roads from the state, and we take more of that in-house as a county. Still something to look into.
Interesting. If people are, listening and wanting to look into this themselves, maybe they should go to where should they go to?
Maybe the county website, portercounty.gov. There's a couple of hyperlinks you have to get through, which is another problem. You look at a lot of these other counties, and it's so much faster and easier to look at their budget, look at where the money's going, get a quick line item breakdown. So yeah, transparency would certainly be another issue.
But the transparency is really limited by the use or the ability to use or the user friendliness of the website itself. So that's the
absolutely.
bottleneck.
I mean, we just got a we're just so far behind on many. We just got a .gov website for the county. I think last year.
Oh wow!
Like before that, I think it was a .org. It wasn't even an official government website, and because of that, we still have broken hyperlinks on our website.
I've seen a lot of them. Yeah.
So fixing that, considering what the IT bill is for the county, I don't think we should have these kind of issues. So certainly putting together some kind of task force to address that should be a priority.
Yeah.
Because it's difficult to keep government, especially local government, accountable when you really don't know what they're doing or what they're up to.
Yeah.
So.
And part of that's just the technology, like you say. Maybe they want it that way.
I wouldn't go that.
I don't think so.
Far. I think it's just everyone's very busy. The council, certainly it's not a full-time position. Everyone has other jobs, and certain, they do the best they can, but certain things slip through the cracks. And I think transparency, UI, that kind of thing is a big part of that.
Yeah. You'll probably have to do some advocating in order to get that on the agenda. So, now with all that said, I think we've covered everything. Anything for the listeners right now and for some of the viewers?
Sure.
What would you like to say?
I just say make sure you go out and do as much research as you can before the primary. Say my platform is very simple. I just want to keep Porter County a great place to live, work, raise a family, start a business.
Okay, great. And where can people find you online? If do you have a website for your campaign?
Sure, my website's going to be reynoldsforportercounty.com. Facebook is going to be the same thing, Reynolds for Porter County.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Kyle. It's been a great interview, and I hope you unscripted viewers and listeners have enjoyed. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.